Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining. And it is 8:30. I'm a bit further away from Tuchan this morning. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. I've tried to block out the wind. Hi, Auntie Jane. Hello. Oh, Nikki. Hello. So I've tried to block out the wind. It's blowing a hoolie down here. It's the north wind that's really quite strong. So just give me the thumbs up if the sound is okay. I've put the mic like in my hood, so hopefully it's nice and protected. I just hope you can hear me. Hi, Carrignon Vine. Good to see you. Oh, Uncle Ed, good to see you too. Yes, you can. Thanks, Vivian. Just waiting for that. Right, so for the location, I think we'll do the guessing game this morning as to exactly where I am or which vineyard I'm in. So I just locate you. In that direction is the village of Tuchan. So Tuchan over there behind the tree. Pan round, we've got the rocks of Vangro just in the background. It's a little bit cloudy today. And behind that we've got the Mediterranean and the villages of Fitou, Le Cat, La Palme down onto the coast, and there we're in the Languedoc, so just over the border in the Languedoc. And then as I turn round, pan round, we've got Narbonne behind these hills here, so you can see I'm in a sort of a bit of a valley here. So Narbonne behind there, and as I pan round I'm going to get wind full on this way when it starts to blow, and this is Carcassonne direction. So I know this is in the north, Carcassonne, because this is the way the north wind, the Tramontane, is blowing from here. So I'm not in the Tuchan. Tuchan is even further away, that's about half an hour. So I'm about 5 minutes out of Tuchan. Somebody's lost their tea towel. They're still available on the site if you have lost your tea towels. So I'll give you another clue. So, and some of you may have said it because I haven't been able to look at what you're saying, but it's a small vineyard. And let's have a look at one of the leaves. So I thought I'd bring you out to look at leaves today because they are actually getting blown off. And soon it's all going to be very bare and a bit grey in the vineyard. So I thought I'd make the most of it today. So let's flatten this one out. So it's nice, it's not falandrine either. Oh, I can see some of you have got your tea towels out. No, Karen, not falandrine. So here we've got the leaf that it is. It's nice, round and flat. It's a pale green colour, and it's actually, yeah, they're sort of getting a little bit yellow now, but it's still mainly green. And nice, round and flat. Turn it over. And on that one there's not, I found some earlier because as they get older there's some, so you can see the little tiny hairs on the back. You can see these little tiny hairs on the back, and that is the big clue as to which vineyard I'm starting in this morning. It's, yeah, almost Gilly, it is Grenache, but it's a certain type of Grenache. Hi Marcin, good to see you. We're just identifying Puy de la Gardine. So, any ideas? It looks like Grenache, but it's got hairy leaves. So it must be, yes Gilly, it is the hairy, yes Kieran, it's the hairy Grenache, otherwise known as the Lledoner Pelut. So not Grenache green, no, it's the hairy Grenache. Oh look, there's a little bunch of grapes here. So today I thought we'd start off, we're actually in Rebouls on your tea towel. I can't get mine out because it's just too windy, it's going to blow away. So in the Rebouls vineyard, just looking at the lovely leaves as they turn into autumn, and they're sort of flying off with this really strong Tramontane. Yeah, Rebouls, Vivian, you got it right. And what we're going to do, we're going to walk down, have a look at the Carrignon down there, and then we're going to go and see how Jean-Marc's vineyard is getting on. Remember the one that he was ripping up, he was planning on ripping up or replanting, planting actually last week. So we're going to see how he's got on with that. But just starting here in the hairy Grenache, and you can see the wild boar have been out. They've turfed it all over. They're still a bit of a pest. And if ever you wonder which way the wind blows here, this vine might give you an idea. Can you see there's like no branches on this, and they're all completely bent over that way, and this side is facing north. If I get a better shot of that, with all the branches bent over towards the south, so the north facing, the north wind blowing that way. And as I say, quite strong. And then I love this time of year because it's so easy to recognise the different grape varieties. So here, just amongst the hairy Grenache, we've got these bright red leaves, and this is actually a Carrignon Vine. And it's actually the easiest time of year to be able to spot the different types of vines. So I better get a move on because we've got quite a lot to cover. But here, I couldn't help picking this up. This is wild fennel, just growing in the vineyard. I think the wind this morning must be at about 60 kilometers an hour, so it's rather blowy, not many people out. But smell that fennel, it's lovely licorice aniseed flavours. And come down here, so you can see here, mainly Grenache, not face into the wind, mainly Grenache, hairy Grenache, you can tell by the colour of the leaves. And then if we look over to where we're going, I think you might be able to just see the Diane. Let's get some emoji Dianes up on the screen. Oh, if anybody would like to send me a cup of coffee. It's really quite cold and very blowy here this morning. I'd love a cup of coffee. So can you see over there the little Diane waiting for us? But this is, apart from being extremely windy up here, this is really a good spot to look at the Carrignon Vine. So that's my Carrignon Vine down here, which is Rebouls Carignon, just below the hairy Grenache. And you can see, although most of it is like orange, sort of burnt orange colour, there are some little dashes of a brighter green, and they are the Grenache vines. So although we say it's Carignon, and it is 80% Carignon, you can see that there are the occasional Grenache. And that would have been how it was planted. It would have been grafted back over 100 years ago. It would have been grafted from existing vines that the growers had. So they would have grafted it themselves. So a local Massal selection. And they wouldn't have been too careful about what they actually grafted. So that's why sometimes you get a bit of a mixture. But I need to start rambling down here. It's not actually too cold. It's just so windy. And I've been looking at making wine. So from this, because we've just come out of harvest, it's all nice and fresh in my mind. So from this particular vineyard, the hairy Grenache, we made about 1,000 litres from this third of a hectare. Isn't it lovely? It's still absolutely gorgeous. Thanks for those cars, Vivian. So we've made just over 1,000 litres from this tiny parcel of Grenache. But I was thinking about the other things. When you make wine, you have byproducts of wine. And it's actually a completely new world for me, because basically the distillery comes to collect the byproducts. But I had a quick look into the history of it this weekend, and the byproducts of wine, basically there's mainly 3 byproducts. There's marc, lees, and the rafle. So it's almost like meeting new friends, called Marc, Lee, and the Raffles. Marc, Lee, and Raffles. So marc, that's the pressed. Woo, head on into the wind. Marc is the pressed skins. That's marc, M-A-R-C, marc. Or marc's pressed skins. And the lees is like the sediment at the bottom of the tank that comes out of the wine. So you've got the marc, the lees, and then you've also got the rafle or the raffles, and that's the stalks. So the marc and the lees we have to take to the distillery. They actually come and collect it. Whoops! They come and collect the marc and the lees, and then they will actually distill it. So you have a legal obligation for that to be collected by the distillery and taken away to make. It's actually quite confusing, because with marc So with the marc, which are the pressed skins, you actually make marc. So marc is also eau de vie. So it actually means two things. The marc can be the skins, the pressed skins, and it is also the eau de vie, or the grappa, that you actually produce when you redistill. Basically, you distill the leaves. Yeah, the skins. So you distill the skins, and that gives you the marc. Locally here it's called marc de Languedoc, which you can buy from the distillery. But years ago, there used to be, get this, there used to be a distillery in Tuchan. And do you know where the distillery in Tuchan is, or was? It's actually just behind my station winery. And that used to be La Distillerie de Tuchan. So there was a distillery there, and that used to distill all of the grape skins, or all of the marc, from the local area. And it started at the beginning of the 1900s. That's when the government actually made it, you had to deliver the byproducts to the distillery to prevent people making a second-class wine from it and actually putting like the sediment back into the wine, or trying to make a weaker wine by themselves. You actually legally from 1907 had to deliver the lees and the marc to the distillery. So at the beginning of the 1900s, there's actually a distillery set up in Tuchan, and it employed about 12 people. So it must have been quite a hive of activity, and it was distilling. It had contracts with all the big producers, or the cooperatives in the area, and it used to work for about 3 months a year during the harvest, and produce up to 40 hectolitres, so that's 4,000 litres of eau de vie per day. And at the time, if you bought in, basically the contract they had with the local cooperatives, if you bought the marc in, you basically got 50% of the eau de vie, or the marc, that it produced back again. So marc, you bought it in to your skins in, and in return you got 50% of the distilled alcohol back. And I was just chatting to Jean-Marc this morning about that, and he remembers his granddad used to get the first 1,000 degrees of alcohol free back from the distillery. So he would get about 11 litres of 94% proof alcohol back from the distillery in exchange for delivering his marc to the distillery. So you'd actually get some back. So up until about 1955-56, whatever you delivered, you got the first 1,000 degrees back again in pure, almost like pure alcohol. And that finished. So Jean-Marc remembers his granddad, it used to be inherited, so you could pass it on through the generations, but that stopped in the 1950s. So Roger didn't get that. It was actually a status that you could have the alcohol back from the distillery. So Roger didn't get it, but his granddad did. And with that alcohol, they used to do a couple of things. They would either use it as heating, so they'd burn it. Right back in the early days, they would actually burn the alcohol for heating because it was 94% proof. They would make pastis. I could imagine the pastis from around here must have been absolutely delicious. Can you imagine the pastis with all the local herbs? So they would infuse that in the alcohol that they got back from the distillery. Or they could exchange it, rather than getting pure alcohol, they could get what is called the marc de Languedoc, or the Fine de Languedoc, and that was only 45% proof, so you could get double the amount of a Fine or a marc de Languedoc that you could actually drink. They also preserve fruit in alcohol too. I know Annie, Roger's wife, has got jars of like prunes and cherries in alcohol. It's absolutely delicious. And here we are. I've managed to ramble all the way through to in the Carrignon vineyard. And here's a lovely typical Carrignon vine here. Look at the lovely colours that we've got. We've got red, green, and then typical branches here. They're a brown colour as opposed to the paler yellow colour of the Grenache. So quite clearly here we can see this is Carrignon. There's the Carrignon. Quite a few Grapillons. Anybody fancies to come and pick those? Grapillons. And then just to compare that with the occasional Grenache that we've got in this over 100-year-old vineyard. So you can see the colour of the sarment, or the branches, a paler brown colour, and they're actually still quite green there. So waiting for the leaves to fall off, and then we can start top pruning. Oh, lovely. So it's been fantastic. Thanks very much for joining me. I can see it's almost 9 o'clock here, so I better get on, go and have a cup of coffee. And I will see you all on Thursday. So same time, but a different vine.